Hey cousins, I'm Shemaya. It's like papaya, except it's not, and this is Plot Twist Please. Let's get into it. You put on your favorite dress, put some bows in your hair, and head to the kitchen. It's time for some Eggos. Smother them in syrup and butter, and to prop yourself up on that high chair. And just for good measure, you put a sunflower in a vase for some decor. You're 7 years old, and you know how to take care of yourself. Well, if you haven't guessed it, I am talking about Matilda. Matilda the movie is based on the Matilda the book written by Roald Dahl. And I will say, that movie was a staple in my childhood experience. Not that I could relate to Matilda with her family situation, but the thing that I could relate to Matilda on was her love of books. I loved to read day in and day out because I, didn't talk to people for a really long time. I would say that I learned to have conversations with people outside of my family in around 6th grade, but I could relate to her. She was a kindred spirit. Sometimes I think about Matilda as an autistic adult who is taking care of herself and who lives in an apartment and pays her rent and pays her health insurance and makes food for herself every day. And I think about how hard it is to actually do all of these things every single day, to make sure that my meals are balanced, to make sure that I have vegetables and my vitamins, and to make sure that the food doesn't expire in the fridge, and to make sure that I set aside funds to go grocery shopping, and to make sure that I set aside time to actually make food with those groceries. It's all a lot. Not to mention having to clean your home and maintain it and do laundry and also muster up enough energy to be social and to do the things you need to do. Like, it just is a lot. And I think it is rare for autistic people to live alone for a reason. But that being said, I think as of late, I have been learning to give myself grace for the small things and to acknowledge how hard it is to survive, especially in today's economy, as a single person. Because think about it. When you're in a relationship and you live with that person, if you don't sweep the floor, maybe you can ask them to sweep the floor. If you don't have the energy or the time, or it just slips your mind, maybe they'll pick up the slack. If you don't have time to make yourself breakfast, you can say, hey babe, can you pop me something in the fridge? Or can you pop me one of those burritos in the microwave? Or can you grab me my green juice on my way out? That's an option for you. And I'm not saying that having a partner is like having a personal assistant, but it is having a partner. It is having someone there who, if you don't have it all together, can pick up the pieces, can fill in the gaps. And so when I talk about singleness and I talk about how it's hard, I'm not referencing a longing for the Hallmark version of coupledom. Like, I'm not talking about the lack of having a partner makes you feel lonely, even though that could be a factor for some people. I'm talking about the economic impacts of being coupled. And I'm talking about the financial discrepancies involved when you are not. When you have a partner who can pick you up from the airport, you don't have to pay for an Uber. Like, it's little things like that that really do add up. If you have a partner who can pick you up Chinese food on the way home, you don't have to do DoorDash. It adds up. It adds up. Now, when it comes to like disability rights and state laws and things of that nature and federal laws, that gets more complicated because disabled people actually lose a lot of rights once they get married. But generally, having someone there who, like, say if you collapse, can notice that you collapsed and can call someone like that is also a factor. If like you're single and you live alone and you pass out in the middle of the day in your home, who would notice? Now that comes, what comes into play there is making sure that we are fostering our communities of friendship to the degree that if you went missing, that someone would notice. Like, that's important. But the first response, like the first responder, who is that for you? As a single person, who was your first responder? Now, I just want to use this not to be a Debbie Downer. I want to bring this to our single autistic friends out there, not to scare them, but to be a reminder that if you are single, you have to find the bandwidth to pour into your friendships, because those are your first responders. Those are the people who, if no one hears from you in a week, we'll check in, should check in. And it is up to us to cultivate lives where we have time and energy to do so. And I know it is hard. Like, I am the busiest person in all of my friend groups. It's a known fact. But I do make it a point to show up for them. I do try my best in keeping tabs on people. And I also do think that it is important to give ourselves credit when we are being active in other people's lives and when we are showing up for them and managing all these other life adult things as well. Like, it is hard to manage our lives. It is hard. It is hard to wake up and do it all over again for months, for years. It's hard. But I do want to let you know that if you understand exactly what I'm talking about, you aren't alone. And there are people who understand what you're going through. I just had a conversation with a friend for almost 45 minutes about grocery shopping and about the most efficient ways to grocery shop and about the stores that have the deals and where to buy the produce versus where to buy the TV dinners. Like, your people are who help you survive. And if you don't have food, like if you are hungry, if you need advice, that's what your friends are for. Like, I think there's a reason why you have shows like Friends and Girlfriends and, shows with a bunch of people who are lifelong pals living together in their early 20s. It's because being in your 20s, learning to be an adult, is not an easy feat. And I don't think we were ever intended to do it alone. I don't think that it is helpful to us, especially as neurodivergent folks, to do it alone. And if you can find other neurodivergent folks to do it with, well, you've hit the jackpot. So I say all that to say, Matilda may have had to do it all herself for a while, but you don't have to. No one wins an award by doing it all themselves. They just get tired. And maybe they'll spend more money than they would have if they'd asked someone where the deals were, or asked someone where the cheapest produce is. Because at the end of the day, we really do only have each other at the end of the day. Okay, that's all I have for you today. This was just a short little mini-sode. Tune in for the larger episodes throughout the month, once a week, typically Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. Alrighty, be blessed, stay weird, goodbye.